Okay, after a three. One, two, three.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everybody, and welcome to our webinar here this evening about the secret to coaching explained. I'm Stephen Gallagher, so thank you very much for attending this evening.
Hello everybody, I'm Dan Fleeman, joining Stephen this evening. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, so what we're obviously here tonight for is to go through really what coaching is, how we approach coaching, how we approach clients coming in, how we look at data, how we interpret data, how we interpret external issues regarding coaching, lifestyle and whatnot, and how obviously that can be affected into your performance, and how our coaches obviously work with that. So hopefully it'll be informative for everybody. We won't be having a Q&A at the end of it, but if there is any questions, please email info@digdeepcoaching after it. So and we'll be all too glad to answer. So let's get started. Okay, so the coaching process. We're just going to go through obviously how we look at new clients or potential new clients, and how we analyze obviously where you've come from in the past, and how we can actually maximize your abilities in the time that you have. So really it's very critical to receive as much information as possible, up-to-date information. Whenever we have obviously somebody new or a new client coming on board, it's essential that we have as much information and all the training and all the knowledge that is given after that is as specific as possible. So what we're trying to do is get a previous training history from particular people, obviously previous medical history, which is very important, results gained in the past and how these results were gained. So what we're trying to say is that potentially you were aiming for a particular goal or a particular event. We want to look at how you aim for that event. We want to see maybe what you did worked or what you did that didn't work. Again, it's very important that you're honest with yourself, honest with your preparation in the past, and that again helps us start to see a trait of sort of who you are. And it's very important to get that history of training. I know people do keep their own diaries. Some people do it online, some people obviously just write it down, or some people save it to their Garmin Connect or different types of software, Strava or whatnot. And all these things make it very easy for us to really look at the information and being able to interpret it. And again, it's very important that for every athlete that you sort of keep some sort of diary of your training. Of course, medical history as well. Previous either minor or serious medical issues obviously have an impact of how we can coach and how your progression can continue, so that obviously is taken into consideration. Injury history, most people have had small niggling injuries, some people unfortunately have had major injuries. Again, that comes into the fact of how big of a training load you can take. Potentially you're not long after an injury, so your training will be disrupted maybe by the recovery process. Maybe we can look at doing recovery strategies, looking at bringing your training forward and gradually increasing and ramping up the intensities as it goes along. But yeah, your injury is of course a major issue that we'll have to look at. Did you meet your previous goals or fall short? And that's coming back to really your event and how the results were gained. So what we want to know is, did you aim for, an example, a sportif or Mermot or maybe a 25-mile time trial, how you developed for that, how you trained for that, how you prepared for that, and did you meet it or did you not meet it? And that's the case of us. We were able to see then exactly what your focus was for a particular goal. And there's obviously certain training regimes and certain intensities and methods of training that work for some people and don't work for others. Genetically, we're all very different. So again, we're just trying to get that information, and along with that there is related to your strengths and weaknesses and your chosen discipline. So certain areas where you're stronger, certain areas where you're weaker, starting to build up a diary of what sort of an athlete you are and what sort of an athlete that you want to be. So All that again is can be slightly time consuming on the athlete's part, getting all that information, putting it in, and obviously sending it towards us, and letting our coaching staff along with the coaching directors look through that information. But for you to make the most of your coaching and your coaching experience, it's essential that that information is delivered as efficiently as possible and with as much detail as possible. So, and again, what do we do with this info? So how is all this info used? So it allows us to see the previous training load and really to see what the start point of our coaching will be. So, you might have come from a long break, you might have come from a month off, or again, I talked about we've come from recovering from an injury. That'll lead us obviously to starting to build a little bit slower, starting to build our base a little bit slower, depending on what discipline that you're in. All these aspects is very important for us to know where we're starting from. Potentially you're coming to us maybe towards the peak of a real hard training phase, so we obviously have to adapt our training for that. We need to know exactly what we're aiming for, and it's critical obviously we've got to know the intensities that you've been training before this, so we know what to top up on. To analyse the previous training met the demands of your target events. So what we're saying is that if you did aim for maybe a time trial or an Olympic distance triathlon, something like that, that was the sessions that you were doing, did they lead to a positive impact on your performance? So we want to try and realise and again build a diary up of what sort of athlete you are and trying to think of what works for you and what doesn't work. That is very difficult to do from the start. It's handy and easy whenever we have power meter data. Of course, not everybody rides with a power meter, so we're trying to look at other aspects of development, looking at performance, race results, looking at your heart rates and how you feel as well, and how you actually feel that you've handled your training. So all these things we try to look at to see if you've had a positive impact in your events from the training that you've done. And also this enables us to include new and specific sessions that will improve your performances. So maybe there's stuff and sessions that we can see are tailored training that you have missed, and it's very obvious to us that these are key sessions or these are key aspects of your preparation that you've missed, and we can only know that by, of course, getting the relevant information. And from that we go, okay, well, this is definitely what we need to work at. This is definitely an area that we find that you've lacked, and it's something that again we can put into practice and put in your program very quickly if needed. So that's how we sort of start off the analysis of the athlete. And again, this is can be a process that can take a bit of time, but is very essential to get the ball rolling as quick as possible. So after this, we're looking at the coach to athlete match. So again, we are very lucky that the amount of coaches that we have and specialists that we have range in many different fields, from triathlon coaches to mountain bike specialists, cyclocross, time trial, sportif, road racing, running, swimming. So from that point of view, it's very important that people that come to us, that we're able to match them with a suitable coach, and that coach has obviously the knowledge and experience that can provide the best service possible. So again, with this information that we receive for you, this is how we would choose the best coach. So we meet your needs to the coach's experience and knowledge in your chosen discipline. So maybe our coach has maybe practical or first-hand experience in doing an event similar to you. Maybe he has already studied quite in-depthly in a certain area of performance, maybe time trialing, long distance time trials, to maybe swimming techniques, to triathlon, Olympic distance events. All these practical steps is very important that our coaches have, and that they can relate that to the client. So again, this is very important for us when we're trying to match people. So confidence in your coach is essential, and I can't emphasize that enough. Confidence in you as an athlete and confidence you have in your coach is one of the biggest aspects that can bring around performance. So we're not just looking at the actual physical gains, but we're looking at the the confidence that you get from having somebody there, somebody that you trust, and that there can be built over time. It's not something that always comes natural to people. Again, some people take more time to adjust to a new training regime or to a new way of thinking, but it's very important from the start that you have confidence in your coach and that you have confidence in their ability to deliver targeted and specific training that you feel you're going to get the most out of and that you feel is going to go towards your major objective. So building a working relationship is critical and must be done over time. I mean, again, I go back to the point that everything is progressive. The training is progressive, and also your development with the coach and your trust and knowledge of each other, how both of you work is essential. So again, we have a lot of first-hand experience in that. We see a lot of our clients coming to us in over 6 months to a year. We're starting to see a real good relationship, and we're starting to see particular traits that they have, and again, traits of certain sessions, maybe certain training loads that impact on different people, and again, we can apply that to the best way possible. This information is very hard to see from the offset, so that's why is this build-up of relationship and this build-up of knowledge of each other is very important to get the most out of results. So again, longer-term relationships bring the best results, like I just said. The coach has both knowledge and practical experience of your discipline and goals. So, I mean, of course, it's important that we have the staff and that we have the coaches that are going to meet the demands of your event and that are knowledgeable in the demands of your particular event. Again, we're very lucky here at Dig Deep Coaching to have the staff that we do and to have the coaches that we do have, and we're very lucky to be able to coach people worldwide that are able to be able to use our coaches and to be able to come away with some fantastic results. So next I'm going to go on to really how the coaching is delivered. So we use Training Peaks. A lot of people know Training Peaks, but Training Peaks is one of the biggest providers of training software and analysis of training. All our coaches have coach accounts that allows them to add multiple athletes to their account, and we're able to then deliver the training. And you can see on the left hand side of your screen is a snapshot of the calendar view of your Training Peaks online Training Peaks account. So each of them is set individually, so you can see each day of each week is set out very individualized, what training should be on for that day, what sessions you need to do, sometimes there's tips on the recovery techniques, there's tips on the maybe injury prevention, there's detailed advice on how you should perform that session through to the intervals, the cadences, the heart rates, the powers, the strides, the lengths, whatever it may be. All that is on your account. We also are very lucky to be able to use the mobile phone app. So we obviously have the coach app with our mobile phones that our coaches are able to use. But on top of that, each client is able to download a phone app and have their own account on the phone. So with that, there makes it a lot more interactive. The new phone app with Training Peaks allows us to see a lot of detail and obviously open up the individual rides that we're able to see. So these things are, again, makes the contact with the coach easier, makes the access to information easier, and also makes that access a lot quicker for you, and that there's stuff that you're able to have knowledge on, or maybe there's different aspects of your training that needs changed or information that needs provided, that can be done quickly and efficiently. So so the methods to access is via your online Training Peaks account, via your phone app, and also on top of that you also get a daily email sent to your inbox. And that email will consist of your training for that day, detailing exactly the sessions that should be doing, and descriptions of each particular session, and again that makes it very accessible to everybody. So again, by both the client and the coach. They're very mutually interactive, again, for updates of training, changes to training, and it makes it very simple that we're able to communicate with the clients and the coaches. So it's the beauty really of modern technology and the expert software of Training Peaks. So well, next up is so what do we look at? I'm going to let Dan explain a bit here of what we look at and what exactly the screen is here in front of us.
Okay, this is basically the graph of what the training each individual's done. Obviously, in this day and age, we've got a lot of information now with the GPSs. You can actually see the bottom there. You can see exactly where they've been, and then up the top we've got all the heart rate and power and cadence and speed. But first and foremost, what we're really looking for is what we asked you to do and then what you actually did achieve. Obviously we can see the prescribed training, and then in an ideal world everybody would complete that exactly as asked. And then if not, we can look on the notes. The real good clients, they fill in a lot of detail in the notes section. So if sometimes you can't complete the session, you might be tired, you might be sick. Or there might be some training to find out, and try and rectify the problem. If it might be you're sick, might be tired, and then we can find out, make sure this doesn't keep occurring. And then, yeah, like I said, we have the watts, the power, we have the heart rate, speed, cadence, altitude, amount of climb you've done in the ride. There's quite a lot of information there to look at. So we take the whole thing to build a clear picture. You can also see down the side it has lap 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. More often than not, a lot of the sessions that we prescribe have a certain amount of interval work or efforts to do within the ride, so we can quickly click that, and you can see the power just for that. We said, okay, do that. Power the session, and then if we can see over a period of time with experience, we can see if fitness is going up. Obviously, if you do any efforts and your heart rate's coming down at the time, then it's a good indicator that perhaps the fitness is going forward. So that's obviously what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah. Apologies, there's a wee bit of disruption there. I know Dan's maybe breaking up, but Dan, you're maybe not aware of it, so apologies to anybody if you're hearing any interference there. So hopefully it won't be make too much of a hindrance. So yeah, this is our charts and individual training sessions.
Yeah, this next page breaks everything up into bands. So obviously you can see the power distribution and the heart rate by zones, and that's basically the percentage of time that was spent in each zone. So if again, if we asked you to do 4 by 10 minutes at a certain level, we can see on your heart rate zones whether if you spent enough time or too much time in that exact zone. The cadence one's also very interesting for us, because we can keep an eye, and you can see in this one that there was one cadence band that's a lot higher, around 80 to 90 RPM is where this person spent the majority of his training, which is a pretty good cadence to be in, really. Some people might have a lower cadence, and you can quickly pick up on this and make suggestions that they try and up that cadence. But 80 to 90 is a pretty good place to be. and again, like all the other ones, are just other tools that just allow us to see quickly and easily that if you're doing the majority of your training in the exact zones as set out.
Mm-hmm.
This one is a little bit more complex, so I don't want to go into it in too much detail, but basically this one is what we call the performance management chart. So over time it allows us to see basically where you're at in terms of your fitness. So the blue line is what we call CTL, is your chronic training load, which is basically the amount of training you've done over a longer period of time, 42 days or more. And then the pink one is what we call the acute training load, ATL, which is what you've done more recently, so say over your 7-day period. And then the yellow one is training stress balance, TSB, which is a combination of the two. It's actually your chronic training load minus your acute training load. So obviously the more training you do, in layman's terms, the more you train, the more fatigue you will get. But what we're trying to achieve, obviously, is the more you train, you get tired, but then we're trying to balance the two, so you get a certain amount of freshness. So obviously, come the race season, it's a balance between being enough training and being fresh enough to race. So over time, you can see little patterns, and some people perform better with a little bit of fatigue in the legs. Other people perform better with more freshness in the legs, and it's just, you can pick point periods. If you take your performance management chart over a period of a year, you can see a pattern emerging. So if all your best race performances come in periods when you're fresher, you can plan that to your advantage. Whereas other people don't perform too well when they're too fresh. So then, we get to see a pattern, and you can use that to basically to hit form. Because form basically is fitness, and freshness. So it's finding a balance between the two. So this tool is really important. It helps us to plot that. And in the off season, you find you'd be fatigued more often, because you'd be continually putting in the training load. And then when you come into the race season, it's important to, obviously, you need to balance off, and you need to peak for races. You need the periods you need to ease back, and this performance management chart really helps you to achieve a peak for certain events.
Yeah, I think that's a great tool. I know that our coaches use, and one that isn't necessarily needed for a lot of obviously a lot of the clients to understand. Some of them do. Some of them like being a little bit more in depth. Some people obviously just let us sort of get on with it, but this is certainly a way that we like to use the tool to sort of analyse your performance traits. And as Dan rightly said, everybody is individual traits, and everybody handles training differently. And it's a great way that we have. And also we can predict fatigue, and we can predict training stress as we plan your training, and as we plan your training in the coming weeks, months. That you can see there on the right hand side of that chart, you can see that it's starting to have intermediary spaces between, so it's dotted lines, and that's us predicting your fatigue, that's us predicting your fitness over the next few weeks as we're planning your training. And obviously we adjust your training to the prediction of certain aspects. Of course, there's a lot of other things that come into it, like lifestyle and nutrition and stuff like that, but again, it's a big part that we would use. So just move on to the next slide. This is on our dashboard info. Dan, do you want to maybe just go through a bit of this briefly on our dashboard info?
Yeah, again, this is similar to the one that was showing the power and heart rate distribution, but it actually shows peak powers. So you can can't see it too well, but you can change the date. So you could pull it for a period of 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or several months, and you can see your peak powers over that time. So obviously it allows us to track improvements. when you start with us, your 20-minute peak power is 200 watts, and then 3 months later we can quickly go on and see what it has been more recently. And it enables us to pick out improvements, without actually going and doing formal testing. And then if we start to see, okay, I think this person's zones may now have gone up, then we can get them to do a more formal test to confirm it. But it quickly allows us to kind of look on, and you can set the things to show kilojoules per week, hours per week, training stress score per week, peak power. There's so much information that we can, if we quickly want to see, what someone's been doing over that week, instead of having to go into every file and look deep inside, we can quickly see when needs be, how your fitness is improving.
I think you can see there, we can see very quickly in a very easily snapshot of the time that you've spent in each of your zones, be it either heart rate or power, whatever it is. And you can see there exactly, it's all color coded regarding each week, how long you spent in a snapshot, and maybe zone 1 heart rate or zone 2 heart rate, whatever it may be, that we can see that very quickly. And again, Dan was saying we can look at your kilojoules per week of obviously the calories and kilojoules that was used, and that's a really good indicator to see on how much how much effort was put in that week. Sometimes volume, sometimes hours in itself can be quite misleading, because sometimes you can there's a lot of training that can be done for a long duration but at quite a low level, thus maybe you're not burning as much calories, but obviously with more high intensive training you're burning a little bit more calories and whatnot. So this is a really good tool that we use as well to see the kilojoules that you're burning per week. So, and comparing sessions, Dan, do you want to maybe talk about how we would compare looking at similar sessions?
I kind of touched on this earlier when saying that over time you can see fitness changes. But this allows us, if for example we set you a session that was 2 hours long with two 20-minute intervals, if you then will set the same session a few weeks later, you can go back and look at the old session and compare it to the latest one, and you can start to see patterns. So for example, if you're using power, it's great because you can see, okay, 3 weeks ago I was doing this session at 250 watts and my heart rate was 160 beats per minute, whereas now I'm doing it at 270 watts and my heart rate's either the same or less. Then straight away you can see if fitness has changed, and you can pick up on little traits. So if for example we've said, oh, I think you need to improve your cadence, you can see, oh, has the cadence improved since the last session? Has the cadence changed like we asked, or is it still the same? So it's really great that you can hover the two over and see, for the same session, whether fitness has improved and which direction you're heading in.
Yeah, I think it's good whenever you've got maybe certain people, obviously like this person here is using a similar route, a similar commuting route each day for his training, and it is again easier because the actual physical conditions are similar, apart from the weather, of course. But as Dan said, if we're asking people to change their cadence, we're starting to see potentially how changing cadence might have an effect on their heart rate. A lot of people, maybe when the cadence starts to go up, they're maybe starting to go from 95 to 100, whatever it may be. That aerobically has a little bit more effect on you, and that your heart rate starts to go up, and sometimes that takes a while for it before it comes back down. And all these things is easy for us to analyze when we have this sort of data. And it's not just with the power meter, we can do that with obviously heart rate as well. And again, for people aiming for every sort of event, again, we can use this in running sessions and based on triathlon brick sessions. It's really good that we can get these sessions that are quite similar and being able to cross over the data and analyze the data be it week to week and starting to see improvements. So yeah. Okay, so to evaluate performances and obviously your zones. So, you know, the final outcome of all your training and your preparation is obviously for a good performance, be it, again, in any sort of event, road racing, time trialing, sportive. So that is the final result. So real performance plays a major role in our coaching strategy. So how you get on each weekend, how you get on maybe in your A event, or how you get on in your B events leading up towards an A event, has as big a critical role to the development of your training than just the data that we're receiving. So what I'm trying to say is that the data figures is not the only way that we evaluate your gains. Performance in itself, the main attribute for performance is good results and seeing your development and having confidence that the training being given is obviously meeting the demands of your event. So we have to look at all these aspects as a whole, and again, not just the facts and figures that we lead. Yes, it is very easy to look at the facts and figures and obviously to evaluate in that point of view, but again, it all comes down to your performance and exactly how that performance is played out. We're looking at mental aspects of it. You're looking at different aspects of how you cope with maybe different stresses in sport, maybe looking at different aspects of your lifestyle, how that was affected by your performance, and all that has a big detriment on your performance. So I think everybody probably has experienced that in the past. And continual evaluation of your zones and levels. So it's very important as your fitness increases or indeed decreases that your zones and levels of your training change. So we obviously, everybody who comes on to our training, we would do field tests, or some people do already have their zones set out, but we are continually evaluating them zones and levels as it progresses, because obviously as your fitness increases, so does the demands that we have to put on you to continue that development. So if you're continuing to do the same training at the same intensity week in, week out for 6 months, that development starts to taper off slightly because your fitness increases and so does your ability to handle a heavier training load. So we have obviously got to change that in your zones and levels, and that's something that has to be evaluated and monitored as we go along and as we try and make the coaching as specific as possible. So I think that's it. Is there anything else, Dan, that you would like to add before we sign off?
No, I just think you made a very good point that data is all well and good, and it's what drives us here. But race results ultimately are what we're all trying to achieve. So that's probably the best measure of performance is results you get in the races.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed, and enjoyment, of course, that we're all enjoying it. So, so I'd like to thank you again for attending this evening. If there's anything else or any questions and follow-up that you would like, please email info@digdeepcoaching.com, and we look forward to hear from you in the future. So, thank you very much for attending, and look forward to seeing you again.